Early voting is officially underway in some states. About 30 million people have already cast their ballots. Millions more are going to vote on Election Day. Now, there has been fear by some Americans that the hotly contested election could be followed with violence. Joining us to discuss is John Wood Jr. He's the national leader for Braver Angels and the former vice chairman of the Republican Party in Los Angeles. And our panel is with us as well, Esther Valdez and Dr. Lauren Wright. Okay, I want to show you this poll just to kick things off. A new YouGov poll suggests that 56% of Americans are fearful of violence come Election Day. John, does that number sound accurate to you?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. We commissioned a poll through YouGov, basically surveying Americans' response to three statements. The first one was along the lines of, do you believe that the election will be honest and fair? Roughly 50% of Americans answered, no, we do not agree with that statement. We asked the question, do you believe that the next president of the United States, that we will agree as a country on who the legitimately elected president is? About half of Americans believe that no, we will not have that consensus. And to your last observation there, we asked the question, do you believe that we will see an increase in violence as a direct result of the election? Over half of Americans believe that we would. And what's striking about that is that these are comparable figures in both parties. It's not as if we have a lopsided number of Democrats who think this way, Republicans who don't, or vice versa. This is one of the very few bipartisan things we can observe in the sentiments of the American people. The American people are bracing for an uptick in chaos following the election.
And that's... I hate to interrupt you. That's some really shocking data that we're finding because, again, this is one of the most American things you can do, right? Cast your ballot, vote without fear that there would be violence following that decision. Lauren Wright, how are you reading these numbers and what are you expecting come November 4th and even the days after that?
I'm glad we're having the conversation, and I can certainly see how these sorts of results concern a lot of people. But I would urge that people answering that they think something is likely to happen in a poll is not the same as saying it's going to happen. We live in a country where nationwide, less than 30% of Americans vote in their local elections. If you look at 15 of the largest 30 cities in the country, less than 20% of people vote in their local elections. So to jump from there to a civil war is, I think, I don't think that's appropriate, but I do think we need to have conversations about civility. And I'm glad to see results like this. They're interesting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to get anyone riled up about what could or could not happen. But Esther, what's interesting, too, is this year especially we have seen more violence than usual. If you look at cities like Portland, if you look at cities like Chicago, New York City, there has been unrest that's going on. And again, this is all prior to the election and election results as well.
The recent poll reflects exactly what we're seeing across America. The National Shooting Sports Foundation reports that firearm sales are up 139%. Ammunition sales are up 95%. We're talking about an American electorate that's seeking to exercise their Second Amendment because there is fear caused by the intimidation, caused by protests, largely funded by sources such as Antifa and the Democratic Party as well, allowing these protests to escalate into violence. And it's political violence, the like we typically see in South American or banana republics with destabilized democracies. And that's what Americans are truly reacting to. Is the election, the upcoming election, going to quell any kind of fears or anxieties? No, it is not. I believe it's simply going to escalate. I think we're in a moment in time similar to what Abraham Lincoln saw, where it was a fractured electorate. It was a brother against brother. Back then, it was North against South. And here we're fighting against things that we've never seen before in the United States, such as socialism. We're combating nine-month abortion. So these are really hot polemic topics. and everything's on the line, and Americans are reflecting that with their fears and their anxieties, and it's simply escalating into mounting tensions.
Well, like all presidential elections, this one is important as well, very important. The 2020 November 3rd, a lot of people, like I said, already cast their ballots. John Wood Jr. joining us live, again, breaking down all these important polls. Thank you very much. And our panel of the day, Esther and Lauren, stick around, still a lot more to get to.